We have worked some magic, my friends. It is the transfer window episode. Technically, the transfer window is still open, but we had the minor detail of most of our players and staff having promotion clauses in their contracts, giving them all 25 to 35% wage increases. Yeah. So that became quite the problem. So it may not look like it from this screen, but we have worked a lot of magic. Let's go take a look. All right, my friends, welcome in. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 6,500 subscribers on the way to 10,000. Thanks for all that you do. So again, if you look at the screen, you're like, wait a minute. I mean, the wages have gone up a little bit. Minor understatement. But the bank balance is looking pretty healthy. You know, I think we've done some really good business. In footy, I think you got to have a strong spine, and I think the transfers we've done have given us just that. Just again, looking at the bank balance, negative 2.4, call it 2.5 million and this is August 1st. We're about to play our first round game of the DFB Pokal. We'll talk about that. But on May 16th, I'm looking at my spreadsheet over here on my other monitor because I'm back into the real world. We were at negative 21.3 million. Yeah. Also, our net debt. So, because I had a comment that said, like, can you update us on the net debt? And I said, we're going to do this at the start of every season. Because, last year, the club took on an extra 50 million loan or whatever it was out of nowhere. So I want to kind of get to the start of the season to go like, this is where every season when we start, this is where the debt is at. We're at currently 246 million in net debt. With May 16th, we are at 266.7 million. So that's an increase or a decrease in debt of 20.8 million, which is very, very tasty. Some of that has to do with transfers. Some of it has to do with like membership fees and getting into the Bundesliga and all those types of things. But let's go take a look at our transfers. All right, so we have had, I'm going to call it a right sizing of our organization. We had a bunch of players in the second team that weren't good enough and were just chewing up wages. We had some under 19s that we were trying to extract some value from, but some of them I could have extended their contracts, but they just weren't good enough and it was time to go. So that's a majority of that list over there. You'll notice we have let Simon Torod's contract expire. I feel kind of bad because he helped get us to where we're at. But again, he retired. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I feel like I should have signed him then to be like a youth coach or something like that. But again, going back, this is a live reaction, my friends. Again, we talked about his career. He's just a Zweite Bundesliga player. He was falling apart physically. It was just time to cut his wages and say thanks, Simon, for everything that you did. So with that being said, we have brought in 4 players into the club that we didn't already know about. So I'm not counting Thomas or Zalazar, those players, because those we already knew about those transfers. They were locked in. And we've had 9 players leave to go to clubs. So this is the released players list. Now let's go look at the 9 players we have sent out to other clubs. First up is Pablo Ruiz. I started, great comments. I really appreciate all the comments about like, you need to get your squad smaller. This is all about surviving. So like, there's this thing where you're like, I want to give all these youth players a chance, but also I want to not get relegated because that probably kills the save. Pablo, again, when we picked him up, we got him on a free, and it was just one of those, he was too good not to pick up, but then I thought we could cash in. And as you can see here, we're going to get a loan fee of 245 grand. It's not entirely accurate, and I wish they would change that so badly. Essentially, we're short 950 a week on his wages. Okay, so what is that? Call it 4 grand a month. Okay, so we're really netting about 20 grand a month if he's playing, and more than that if he's not. But we're going to make a profit. This is like the first player we've had go on loan where we're actually going to generate a profit from it, from somebody we picked up. So get him on a free, make 150, 200,000, maybe if he's not playing, 250,000 euros. Again, doesn't seem like a lot, but they're covering that's on top of covering his wages. So we've reduced the wage budget, gotten him more playing time so that he can develop, and maybe in the future we sell him, or maybe he develops into somebody half decent. But either way, we're winning. We finally quasi got rid of Dominic Drexler. His contract's up in a year. Nobody wanted this guy. And okay, the loan I'm about to show you is not great. But we got into a bit of a financial pickle where I was having to delay some transfers that I really wanted to make to kind of like figure out our wage budget and transfer budget. So it was one of those, like, I needed to get rid. No one is interested in buying him because his what he is looking to make is entirely too high for the level that he's good at. So his level, good player for most 3 Liga or whatever that is, Dreite Liga, something like that, Dreis Liga, Eins, Zwei, Drei, right? Drei is 3 in German. I think it's Drei. Dreite Liga, maybe? No one is going to pay 23.5 grand for that. It's just not going to happen. So we tried to sell him. Nobody wanted him. So instead, we've loaned him out for 50% of his wages, but they are going to pay 24 grand a month, which offsets, call it 6 grand a week. So they're covering like 75% of his wages. It was about damage limitation. His contract's going to expire. Get rid. We did the best we could. And again, I think that's why this shouldn't say, oh, you got 240 grand. It's like, well, no, because they didn't cover all his wages. But damage limitation. We have sold Marcin Kamiński for €1 million to Lech Poznan in the Polish Ekstraklasa. Again, I'm not sure how he joined our club. I guess there was something involved in here where I think it was probably a free, but I'm not sure. Either way, he was 10 grand a week on wages, and we got $1 million for him. I think like he was a fine squad player, but in the situation we were in, I was trying to cash in on players. He's 30. He's not Bundesliga level, especially with the mentals. The physicals, he might be able to make it a season, but he just wasn't going to get a ton of game time. He might as well leave, and he was like, no, I'm good. Next up, we have sent Nassim back out on loan. They're essentially paying his full wages with a combination of monthly playing fee and loan contracts. So we're short $1,500 a week. They're going to give us $6.5 a month. So, right, we might be making $500 a month. It doesn't really matter. His contract's up at the end of the season. It should be red. It's not. Not sure what's going on there. We don't have an extension built in or anything like that. I just want to see how good he is. If he could develop, by Christmas, we could consider extending his loan. He's like the 6th or 7th best midfielder we've got. He's on 15 grand in wages. It just made sense to be like, hey man, last year you were at Ingolstadt. You did 31 appearances on a 689. We're going to send you back to the Zweite Bundesliga. Let's see how you can do. And if that's your level, I hate, because he is an academy product essentially. So I hate that we had to send an academy product out like that, but like that's just kind of the way it went. And again, it got 15 grand off of our wage book, which we really needed. The big one, my friends, as we have sent Harit back out on loan. I tried to sell him, wasn't pleased. Tried to loan him, wasn't pleased. We finally got someone to pick him up. He's gone to Wolfsburg on a squad player contract. You see his wage? Yeah, he was on like 57 grand, and then like whatever that is, the difference, 22 grand. It was a huge increase from his contract with us getting promoted. And like we just couldn't afford a 79,000 a week player that plays an inverted winger or a 10. I would love to use him as a 10. I just didn't think we could afford to use him as a 10 is the problem. And we have the benefit, he does have 2 years left on his deal. So like they are paying essentially his full wages and then maybe a little bit, right? We're short 16 grand a week, so 64, right? Like 63 to, we'd be short 64 a month. So like we're not really profiting, but we're keeping a guy who's probably worth more like 6 or 7 million. That was the initial thing. But like I was trying to do like sell on clauses and after certain appearances and 3 million, and like again, I got to get 79 grand a week off of our wages. And so he's gone to another club in the Bundesliga as a squad player. He's done a 7.6 with an assist in their first game of the DFB Pokal against like probably subpar competition, but we just couldn't afford to keep him because we signed Maximiliano Meza, my friends, a 30-year-old Argentinian that you'll note can play the 10 and an inverted winger on the left and has like really good technique and flair and off the ball. I'm not saying they're, exactly equivalents, but you'll also note that Maximiliano is only on 27.5 grand a week. We paid a 1.3 million fee for him to Monterrey in Liga MX in Mexico. They previously purchased him for 10.75 million. He had 41 appearances last season with 9 goals and 2 assists on a 6.86. I'm not saying that's world-beating numbers, but we paid 1.3. He's worth, theoretically, 7 to 10, and his wages are like 50 grand a week less for a player that, if we really compare here, I think is a better player, right? I think Harit's contract is pretty terrible versus Maximiliano. Now, Maximiliano, if we're really going to cash in, we'd have to cash in probably next summer. It's a 2-year deal. If his value is really that high, we'd have to cash in next summer. But maybe that works. We sell him for $5 million after paying 1.3. It doesn't really matter. And then Amin comes back in and takes on his starting role. But in the meantime, I was trying to juggle some stuff and going like, we got to get these wages off. But I found a guy who could essentially play exactly the same for 51.5 grand less a week. Yeah, I'll pay 1.3 million for that. Let's get rid of Amin for the season. That's my thinking. We did sign Marvin here really as an investment, to be completely honest with you. He wants squad player minutes, that's fine. He's a versatile player. He can play all over the attacking third. I mean, it says he can play midfield, but we're probably not going to do that, to be honest with you. 500 grand, paying him 10 grand a week, nothing outrageous. A 3-year deal, so we have time to, let's say if he doesn't get as many minutes here in the first half of the season, he wants to go on loan, maybe we loan him out. Maybe next summer we sell him for $1 million, but we have to do that type of business to survive as a club. So I just couldn't walk away from a guy where we're like, man, we got a clause for like 500 grand for a pretty decent looking player. To be fair, it does say he's a Zweite Bundesliga player. So again, let's see how the first half of the season goes. Maybe we'll loan him out. I don't know if someone will pay 10 grand a week in wages, but again, I'm looking at him as an investment, right? We paid 500 grand. We're going to pay 520 grand a year in wages. Yeah. What can we get for that in the future? It seemed like a pretty decent deal. And yes, my friends, to replace Simon, it's Sergi Guardiola, the 31-year-old Spanish striker. We're paying him 27 grand, so we doubled Simon's wages. Okay. We paid 2.1 million. It can rise up to 3.3 if he gets like 50 appearances and goals and all the things, right? What was his bonus? We gave him a 350,000 euro bonus. You can see, I'm going to put the contract up here so that you can take a look at it. But complete forward, can play all over the attacking third, so we can rotate if there's like injuries or something like that. I just thought he was a good value, right? It says he's worth 7 to 7.6 million. I'm probably not going to sell him unless we get relegated, which if that happens, the save is over. So hopefully we don't have to worry about that. Wants to play as a complete forward, 6'2". I mean, I think all around, if you trade him and Simon, upgrade 100%. Last but not least, my friends, we have signed Stefan Ortega, a German goalkeeper from Arminia Bielefeld, who, well, I guess he left on a free. They were trying to sell him. He's only been on free contracts his entire career, which is kind of shocking to me because he looks to be a pretty talented player. Like 3.5 star at our level. Now we're paying him 19 grand a week, which is a lot. And I promised him I think it's in 2 seasons. Is that even going to be on here? No, it's not going to be on here. I think it's in 2 seasons. He becomes the starting goalkeeper. So we had some competition from, I think it's El Sad and Boa Vista for his signature. I just didn't feel confident with Freisel and the other keeper leaving. It says he's better than Ralph. We'll see how that goes. But we couldn't go into the season with Luka Podlic as our only backup keeper. Like, he's making that face like, why would you do that? So we wouldn't do that. But I do want to give Luka an opportunity here and there, but we needed a good, if Ralph got hurt, we were in a world of hurt. I did look at loaning on, like, just wages or something like that, the likes of like Gavin Bazunu and some other keepers, in the Premier League or Serie A or Spain or whatever, but like, I couldn't get the quality for the value. Like Gavin, Man City wanted like his full wages plus like $1 bajillion a month or bajillion euros a month, whatever. And it just didn't make sense versus let's buy this guy. And I think, again, he's not necessarily a world beater, but like he now has an expectation. We're going to play the DFB Pokal in the next episode. He's going to get to play in those games and kind of see, is he better than Ralph? And I know Ralph's contract, some people are like, Ralph's contract is like an albatross hanging around the club. We're paying him 56 grand because of the, promotion increase. But I do love the story of Ralph. 33 years old, been at the club since 2004. A couple times left, whatever. Can we get Ralph to take a, like, next year cup or, kind of switch them with a goalkeeping coach? Like, that would be the dream, is to let Ralph, in the twilight of his playing career, become that mentor guy. Now, he's professional. He doesn't have the determination. Some of that's not so great. But we might get rid of Ralph next season if push came to shove. But I just think from a story standpoint, we are trying to keep our academy products around. And like, man, you got a guy between the sticks that could do that. But again, he's falling apart physically. He gets hurt. We now have somebody that we can bring right in to take over. So that's it, my friends. It says 2.6 million out, 7 million in, although 3 million of that was Salazar and Thomas that were already predetermined, 3 million. And then so we've spent whatever the remainder of that is. It could be, I think, up to 5.1 million if the mass, it's 3.9 rising to 5.1 million. And in the meantime, we've sold 2.6 million, or at least covered. Again, that's a little wonky because it's counting some of these loan fees as not fully covering the wages. But that's kind of where we're at. From a staff standpoint, we let an under-19 coach and a senior team coach go. We brought in 2 recruitment analysts, a performance analyst, a replacement under-19 coach, and 2 more coaches into the squad. They upped the number of coaches we can have. They upped the number of scouts we can have. Are those on here? Yeah, we've signed a bunch of folks. If you're super interested, you can take a look at some of these, but like Marco Ianni, we were kind of lacking in defensive coaching, so he's going to be our defensive coach. I mean, look at those stats, or attributes. Legend. I mean, Lazio, Juve, Chelsea, Napoli. I mean, quite the playing career, but that's just being a coach at those squads there. Could be a scout, could be an assistant manager, could be a director of football. I mean, goodness me, fairly determined. I think he's a great pickup for the squad. And then Zhao Trelhao is a attacking tactical coach for us. 20 working with youngsters. Guess what he's going to be doing? We're going to have some youngsters around. Professional, 17 determination. Overall, a fantastic upgrade to the coaching staff when you take a look at the likes of Sven Pijpenbroek, who, again, nothing wrong, but it's just like, man, like, you're just not nearly as good as those other guys. Sorry. We do have one other fitness coach lined up to come in. It's in the contract stage to take our last spot. I need to go find 2 more performance analysts, but as you can see, from a coaching standpoint, even with the upgrade with that defensive coach, we're still not the best, but we're really good technically and with goalkeeping distribution. Hey, we have the best scouting setup and a pretty decent medical setup as well. All right, from a trimming the squad standpoint, this is where it gets a little wonky because we're going to play a rotated squad. We're taking on Erzgebirge Au. Let me know if that's anywhere close. They were in the Zweite Bundesliga and got relegated, I believe. Wait, that's the wrong page. Yes, they were in the Zweite Bundesliga and got relegated. So they're the league below that, whatever we're going to call that. So we have heavily rotated the squad. But when you come down here, we have some problems in that this is too many players hanging out, right? These are on loan. This is too many players hanging out, not in the starting 18 or the match squad 18. Now, Victor is like not these specific players, but the rotation. Some of them specific players. So it's like part of this is if Ozan Kabak goes, we are in trouble. Now, Villarreal is interested, and that makes me nervous. And he's not going to sign a new contract. So, like, we may get deadline dayed, and there's nothing I can do about it. We have an offer for Timo Becker to leave on loan through the end of the year and essentially leave on a free. I don't love that, but, like, it might be what's best. So I've delayed that a couple times. We've got a loan offer for Bozdogan to go out for half of his wages to the Zweite Bundesliga to get his to clear up that space and to get him some game time. We have Karim here who can play left back, left wing back. I'd like to keep him around because he's a youth product, but we also have to consider we have Hamza Mendel who can also kind of play that role as well. So is he one too many to keep around? Should we loan him out to the likes of Wolfsburg? No, they want to transfer. They don't want to loan him. I've tried to get rid of Rabbi Matondo without luck. He's a 1.9 to 5.8 million player. We got an offer for $1 million from Werder Bremen. Now there's some more clubs coming in. I'm hoping that we kind of get deadline date in that way. I hate to lose it, but he's 21 grand in wages. We paid $9 million for him too many years ago. He's just really fast. Like, he reminds me, this is not fair necessarily to Traore, but like Traore at Wolves, where it's like, just because you're fast doesn't mean the rest of your game is very good. Doesn't mean you've got a really good first touch and all those types of things. So I could see on the counter, that being very useful, but he's also on 21 grand a week. And can I get similar performance, pace, and acceleration from Sané? I think I can for like whatever 19 grand less a week and cash in and go get somebody else. So we do have some squad clean out to do. There's still 30 days left of the transfer window. Actually, don't think I'm going to show you the DFB Pokal first round. We should beat that team. Let's be honest. Look at this schedule. Look at August, because again, World Cup 2022, you notice the gap here between October and December? Yep, that's the World Cup, my friends. So I'm not sure. Does this benefit us in any way that like all of these teams are going to be forced to rotate? Like, is that in some way, and like we're playing a game starting August 7th, 3 days later, 3 days later, 3 days later, 4 days later, 3 days later, 4 days later. So that's going to be rough on us. But does that maybe even the playing field a little bit to where the likes of, Bayern's only going to have one game before they play us, so not that much of a benefit. But like these other clubs, later in the August and after the international break, like, does that benefit us in any way that maybe they can't play all of their amazing players every single game? And they'll go like, oh, that's a promoted club. That's fine. Like, we'll rotate against them. Should we hope for that? Is that realistic? This looks brutal. This is the first time I looked at the full schedule. I guess I'll show you the season preview. Let's go take a look at that. Oh, loan payment league. I didn't show you that either. We got stuff to do. We are expected to finish 13th, 150 to 1 odds to win the title, but that's better than the clubs here at the bottom. So we are not expected as of right now to get into a relegation fight, which is good. We'll just have to see how it goes. What a weird season. The loan payment league. So one of the things I did here in trying to generate revenue for the club, because we have, 200 million plus in debt, is I did a friendly league and invited some big teams. So we had Chelsea, Aston Villa, and Sheffield United. You got to say the United part. It's important. Come play us. Yeah. And our bank balance before the Chelsea game was negative 5.85 million. And by the end of the league, after the 3 games, with everybody playing 3 games, it was negative 3.3 million. So that was a 2.5 million euro increase. We got like 40 grand for each game for television coverage just for us. So like you start combining that with the other games that were happening, right? So is that 240 grand probably in television coverage. Plus we packed out the stadium. Again, not just us playing Chelsea, but Aston Villa played Sheffield United while we were playing Chelsea, right? Like, so you start doing the math here. It's like, that doesn't hurt when you've got 200 million in debt to generate 2.5 million. Some people in past series had said, that's kind of gimmicky that you're doing that. But like, I think if you like, the International Cup or whatever it's called that, you know, Man United and Liverpool come play in the United States probably generates that much money, if not a whole lot more, plus marketing for those clubs. So I think it is realistic. I did look up the TV revenue. There's a column you can add for TV revenue here, so I looked it up. But I thought, hey, 2.5 million to get, you know, beat by Chelsea and Aston Villa and beat Sheffield United? You know, it's not bad. So with that being said, my friends, hit that like button once again. I'm going to bring you back. We are going to play, we're going to play the first league game in the Bundesliga. I'd like to hear from you. I don't think it makes sense for us to play Bayern because that's just going to be us getting stomped into the ground. So let's play Mainz and then somebody else after that. Maybe we'll have some transfer news. There's so many games before the transfer window closes. That's insane. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.